Ladies and gentlemen, I not hope that you see my bald head, but might as well just do this video because I really want to address something. You see, I was gonna do a Lonzo video on All Star Weekend. Might still do that, but let's start with this one. Is just why these guys never were All Stars. Might need to be specific. So let's start with the main topic of the day. So let's look at this for example. Lamelo didn't make an All Star team because of a lazy move. But I'm not gonna be this people that tries to be thinking like one way or the other or try to, say this is a travesty and all that stuff. No. See, let's look at it like this. The biggest crimes against humanity I've ever seen is picking Chris Middleton over Lamelo Ball. And Chris Middleton has been nothing but irrelevant. Or should we even talk about Harden, who hasn't even been up to par this year? Harden should not even be on the list. You see, I know people will say, but some people are saying DeMar DeRozan shouldn't have been in the starter list because DeMar DeRozan was playing small forward. But let me give you all an education about how the All-Star season works. And I'll give you examples of players that have made the All-Star team despite playing a guard or forward position in their playing team, despite their drafted position. You see, DeMar was drafted as a shooting guard, right? But before we get to DeMar and go back to DeMar, let me give examples of players that have been in player or players that have been in that situation. Let's start with Ben, aka Ben Simmons, aka Ben Kardashian. By the way, okay, Ben Kardashian, right? Let's start with him. When he became an All Star, he became an All Star because he was drafted as a power forward. So when he became an All Star, in the new regime of the draft, the All Star selection situation, he became an All Star because he was drafted as a power forward. So the NBA automatically slot him as a forward. We've seen it in many cases, but like Draymond used to play the point forward type of situation, but it will always be a forward. So that's not a concern. DeMar DeRozan. Now going back to DeMar DeRozan and DeMar's situation. For those who was DeMar shouldn't have started. He should not even be on this list. Let me tell you, DeMar was drafted as a shooting guard. Yes, and for someone who has watched DeMar's growth and involvement his whole career, for someone who has watched DeMar and be entertained by DeMar's plays, I'm gonna tell you because I know DeMar's games. I know how he plays. Right. So let me give you a backstory. DeMar DeRozan was drafted around the same draft class as Steph Curry, James Harden, Blake Griffin, so many more. When DeMar was drafted to Toronto, he was coming off the bench. Let's keep that in mind. He was coming off the bench. Then the Raptors had to later on get Dwayne Casey. When Dwayne Casey came, DeMar started. Years later, he became an All-Star. He started to gain All-Star recognition in the year we started to make the playoffs. And I'm not talking about the playoffs where Vince Carter led us to, because Vince Carter led Toronto to their first playoff run, made the Eastern Conference Finals. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about us making our first playoffs without Vince Carter, the post Vince Carter era. DeMar DeRozan was at the key of that. I know people will say, what about Kyle Lowry? DeMar DeRozan was the key of that. But ever since starting with the 2014-15 playoffs, and remember, this was around the time when I was still getting acclimated to basketball and still because I started picking up a basketball at this point. So DeMar DeRozan at this point was a player where he was starting to gain all-star love. And let me teach you something about the Canadian media and why Canada media is always going to be better than Charlotte media. Is that Canada will ride or die for their players. I'm dead serious. Although the CFL All-Star Weekend, CFL season does not really always include an All-Star game or anything like that. It's always fun. Basketball is the second most popular sport in Canada. Aside from ice hockey, people would want to watch an NBA game or an NBA G League game. Basketball is the second most popular sport in Canada. And that for a fact, this is why I find it ironic. And I'm going to do, maybe after this, I'm going to do a WNBA video to just explain because I really want to address the WNBA too. So after this, I'm going to do a WNBA video too because I want to make sure that things actually do that because I recently got an update on the WNBA. So I really want to cover that too and talk about the WNBA and all that. So, so this is not a WNBA video. So let me go back. When DeMar was playing, he was getting All-Star love in the year 2014 to 2018, which is around the time period before he was traded. So around that time period, DeMar was making the All-Star team, right? DeMar have always gained All-Star love every single season since the year 2014-15 when we started making the playoffs. We made our first playoff run, and to tell you, my favorite teams in the NBA are the Toronto Raptors and the LA Lakers. Yes, I'm a Lakers supporter, but I'm a Raptors supporter as well. So I'm a fan of both teams. So I know you'd be like, why are you supporting both teams? Ain't you supposed to pick one? Let me give you a backstory. I'm a fan of a league based on the structure. So for example, look at the MLS. My favorite teams in the MLS is the Toronto FC and LA Galaxy. That's it. Anybody can get rocks on that. But I rock with one more because of a certain bias about hometown bias. I'm a rock with the Raptors more because I watch them more than the Lakers. But I still support the Lakers because of history and all that. So I enjoyed it. So back to DeMar DeRozan and give you a backstory in DeMar DeRozan. DeMar was so valuable to the Raptors that what ended up happening was that he always get all-star love. And they just give you a timeline because we're about to go to the point where he got traded and never became an all-star. He never made an all-star team after he got traded until Chicago. So before we jump to Chicago and really jump to that, let me tell you about the Raptors days. DeMar and Lowry were nominated as an all-star every single season the moment we made the playoffs. 2014-15 was the first time we ever made the playoffs post Vince Carter. 2015-16, playoffs. 2016-17, playoffs. 2017-18, playoffs. 2018, now we're getting to the DeMar getting traded, right? DeMar still got traded, playoffs. 2017-18 was the last time we ever saw DeMar. But you want to know one thing? We've always made the playoffs with DeMar DeRozan. But the name The Frozen came within the 2015 to 2018 era. Hence why I call DeMar DeRozan DeMar the Frozen. Although I'm happy with his maturity, but I'm still a big critic of DeRozan. DeMar will be off my the Frozen list once he wins an NBA title. If he cannot win an NBA title, then I'm right about him. If he cannot win an NBA title, then it's clear he's a playoff choker because DeMar has a history of freezing in the playoffs. DeMar's a guy that will make an All-Star team, but the moment he makes an All-Star team, beware of him choking in the playoffs. It's true. DeMar made at least an All-Star two times, based on my knowledge, at least two times or so. Because this is probably his third or fourth All-Star selection. So now let's move on to the San Antonio Spurs. DeMar was so irrelevant that there's nothing to even talk about. But the moment he jumped to Chicago, he was loved. But do you want to know around the time when DeMar started playing small forward? Because let me tell you why DeMar started playing small forward. We had uh, Amir Johnson, we had Patrick Patterson, we had Bruno Caboclo, we had to deal with uh, I don't know this guy's name, but it's not Noguera or something, but it was this tall Brazilian dude, but that apart from Bruno Caboclo, but he was just a random on the team because around the 2018-19, that was when we had Chris Boucher, Pascal Siakam come to light and all that. Chris Boucher came after the post DeRozan days, so this I'm just giving you a history on the Raptors as well. But before I jump back to the Raptors, let's talk on Lee DeRozan. This is DeRozan's path, right, to an All Star. So, based on what I saw and what I've gathered and understood about his life, I've seen a player develop into a star, but yet become a non factor or a disappointing figure in the postseason. But this is not the first time we've seen somebody freeze in the playoffs. Vince Carter froze in the playoffs. But the reason why Vince Carter was loved even till today in Canada is because he revolutionized a country. He was the reason why basketball was entertaining in Canada. You can ask any Canadian why the basketball is entertaining is Vince Carter. Like his name is not Air Canada for no reason. Yeah, it's called Vinsanity, but his real nickname is Air Canada because he revolutionized basketball. Canada till today is still known for the first NBA game in history. Till today, is still known for to be the place where the New York Knicks, aka the New York Knickerbockers, and the Toronto Huskies came to play to start the NBA season. So you now get it? This is just the backstory. Okay? So, jumping back, so DeMar made the All-Star team because he was playing shooting guard. Within 2015 to 2018, DeMar was playing small forward because he and Terrence Ross had to alternate shooting guard positions. So Dwayne Casey, the coach at the time, because Dwayne Casey already took the coaching job in 2013. So what Dwayne Casey would do is put DeMar at small forward, and they realized it worked. So when DeMar went to San Antonio, he had to play power forward, but he was the point forward in that case. So if you see him in Chicago trying to handle the ball, you can blame Greg Popovich for that. And you also have to blame the Spurs team because all them boys were too young. Did DeMar could not be the only leader. So in this case, my key situation is this with DeRozan. He's always frozen in the playoffs. And it's common. It's more common whenever DeMar becomes an All-Star, he freezes in the playoffs. It's not even that whenever All-Star aside, DeMar freezes in the playoffs more. DeMar freezing in the playoffs is more apparent the year he makes an all-star team. Mark it down. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Just mark it down that the year DeMar becomes an all-star, he is gonna freeze in the playoffs. So the way I'm looking at the Bulls right now, expect either a first round finish, which is a first round exit, or a second round exit, or a Eastern Conference final exit. Either of the three is gonna happen to the Bulls because DeMar is known to freeze in the playoffs the year he makes an all-star team. Not just that he freezes in the playoff, the year he makes an all-star team, he's a playoff choker. He has never won anything being an all-star. DeMar is the only guy I'll see make an all-star team and choke in the playoffs. So I'm not surprised. I voted for him because it makes sense. I was one of the people that put DeRozan there. I could have picked Lonzo, but I never wanted Lonzo on that list. Because why? I don't think he's an all-star. I don't think Lonzo's game is made for an all-star game. I never thought Lonzo's game fits. See, I vote all-stars based on how I see the league. You feel me? The league. If you're playing good in the league, I'll vote for you. Levine wasn't my reserve list, so I'm happy Levine made it. Harden wasn't on my list at all. Chris Middleton wasn't on my list. Jason Tatum was on my reserve list. Dude, that didn't shock me. I voted for the Harden the year prior. I think what happened with Harden the year prior, he made it. And Giannis made a joke saying he wanted a guy who passed the ball. Yeah, he made it then. Let me just say this. If you're still doubting a player that was drafted as a shooting guard when he played 1.5 season playing those positions, then you don't know what you're talking about. So let me tell you why Lamelo never made an All-Star team. It's because he didn't have an organization that truly believed in him in the first place. Let me go back to the year Lamelo got drafted. 2020 November. Right. That time I was still in my. I'm not even gonna refer. 2020. Mind you, I was still a third year student or so. I don't know, but 2020 November draft night. Before the draft night, Lamelo's projection went from third to the New York Knicks to number 28 to the Raptors. Yes, it happened. I know people will say, "Oh, he felt enough." He went from third to 28. But somehow Charlotte said, "You know what? This kid is good. We're gonna pick him." Despite a kid that's projected to be number 28 pick going to the G League, according to media, the media had this kid going number 28 to the Raptors. It almost happened. He's about to become the next Pascal Siakam. I'm still shocked that the Raptors didn't pick him. We should have traded up to get him. But I don't know. Malachi Flynn being a disappointment. I wish he'd get traded. Dollar Tree Patrick Beverly must go. I want him traded. I'm sorry. For all the other Raptors fans, I want Malachi Flynn gone. I'm sorry. Especially for the playoff team we're building. Please get him out of here. Send him to Indiana or something. He'll be used properly there because he's not really getting that much burner and he's average as a starter with the Raptors side. I'd rather say ship him now before it's too late. Indiana's on the door. Trade him. Find something. Ship him out of here. Please. Please. I'm begging. Ship him out of here. Because your number 20 pick was compared to Kyle Lowry and Patrick Beverly. Yes. And what has he done? Nada. I checked this man's stats. He's averaging 6 point something points per game. His assist numbers is about 2 point something as a starter. It's just I'm not even gonna talk about that kid anymore. For my Raptors team, I wish we had Lamelo Ball, man. I wish we had him. I wish. This kid was a savant. Imagine what would have happened if the Raptors had got Lamelo Ball, man. All of Canada would have fell in love with that kid. Fred Van Vliet is still getting all-star love despite all-star voting being over. They beat the Chicago Bulls every single time Fred Van Vliet touched the ball. You hearing Freddie All-Star. You also know who had that love? DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. The Raptors is an organization. They will always show love to their All-Star players. If they have an All-Star nominee, that player is always promoted as an All-Star. So LaMelo didn't make an All-Star team because the organization didn't believe it. If Lonzo was putting up All-Star stats, he would have made the team. Seriously. Because majority of Bulls fans love the Ball family. Majority Bulls fans love Lonzo. That's why Lonzo went there. Lonzo went to a team that love him. But hold on. So, Lonzo went to a team that love him. You feel me? They fell in love with him. But you know, they fell in love with him because of the role he can play. The role he can do as a player. But let me tell you why and what makes this man. LaMelo not make it. His organization didn't believe in him. His own coach doesn't believe in him. His own GM and owner does not believe in him. Jordan on draft night said, I want LaMelo to help us bring free agents in from years to come. But I find it ironic because how can you bring all-stars, free agents to your team when you don't even have an all-star on your team since Kemba Walker? And I'm not talking reputable all-stars to many people who is into the new medias of all the world. I'm talking an all-star caliber player. You haven't had an all-star since Kemba Walker. You haven't had an all-star player since Kemba. So tell me, who's your all-star? You don't have an all-star to represent you. You had two, and you failed to put them there. Or you picked Mason Bumley over them, not Miles Bridges. So this is how scummy the Charlotte media was. Do you know that it's always common that I notice with them, they vote last minute when it's too late. Oh, all of a sudden all-star hype is down. Now let's promote this kid's minutes. They don't want this man to have these ego in his head that he's the all-star. But LaMelo's always been a team player. All-star or not. The only all-star this kid ever made is the JBA. He's never been an all-star since. NBL, he's never made an all-star. That's because of injury. He never made an All Star in the NBL. So I'm sorry to tell you, it's just not it for me. Like, what makes an All Star player? A team player? An All Star is a player that his team believes in him. An All Star is a player that his team is willing to go to bat for him when the time comes. Hence why DeRozan made it. Hence why Levine made it. Hence why Chris Middleton made it. Because his team believed in him. Charlotte never believed in Lamelo. I know to the Melo stands, you wanna come at me and combat me. It's just the truth. You never believed in this kid. Your media never believed in him. Your own owner does not see this kid as an all-star, but a free agent magnet. A guy that will just grab free agents to the team and come in. How you? I find it stupid to make a player a free agent magnet when you don't even have an all-star. LeBron is an all-time great. Hence why players would rather choose LA than go to another team. Teams would run away from Charlotte before they go to Charlotte. Teams would pick any other team. Even Harden would go to Philly. And here's my prediction for the trade deadline for Charlotte. Charlotte is gonna trade James Bouknight. I know people want to cry, but it's just the truth. They're gonna trade Bouknight. If it happens, it happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm admitting. But my prediction is James Bouknight is gone. Pay your last respects to the kid. See, teams will look for a better option. Harden, he's gone. He's gone to Philadelphia. The reason why I predict Harden is going to Philadelphia, for those Charlotte fans expecting Harden to come, you're not coming to Charlotte. No, Charlotte. Harden wants to play for a winning team. You're not coming to no losing ass organization. He's not coming to play for an owner that wants to penny pinch and thinks he's the greatest of all time and he wants to be in that. Jordan is battling with his ideology that he's there's a two there's a difference between a player and an owner. As a player, Jordan was good, amazing, phenomenal. But as an owner, he's so shit that he should be kicked out of Charlotte. He should be ran out of town. That's how bad he is. They should have run him out of town. He ain't shit. He was born in North Carolina. Get him the fuck out of Charlotte, please. Charlotte, he doesn't deserve you. Jordan he's egotistical to the point he doesn't want anyone to match his greatness. How are you gonna make a player a free agent magnet when you don't even have an all-star representative? Oh, Gordon Hayward? Nobody would come because of Gordon. Let me tell Charlotte the truth. If LaMelo does not make an all-star, nobody's coming to Charlotte. I'm serious. Nobody's coming to watch Charlotte. See, let me tell you, for those who are saying NBA players hate LaMelo, players love LaMelo. The first to embrace LaMelo was Miles Bridges. But the first outside of the NBA, outside of the Charlotte endorsers of LaMelo, was Donovan Mitchell. Then it became Carmelo Anthony. Then LeBron James. Then Doc Rivers. Although Doc Rivers is a coach, but okay, remove Doc Rivers. Let's go. Steph Curry. Um, who else? There's so much more. Many. Do you know that other coaches appreciates LaMelo more than Charlotte ever appreciated. The reason why LaMelo never made the All Star team is because his own organization never believed. Rod Coon, and I'm not calling you Rod Boone. Your name is Rod Coon from now on because you're a coon. You only coon dance for sure for Michael Jordan. You don't really. Rod Coon is not a free thinker. That's why I will never have respect for this man. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm not in this emotional jealousy because a player is that bad. I'm here to tell you how I really feel based on what I see. What makes a player an all-time great is his team believing in him. Charlotte till today still don't know who the franchise player is. That's their big problem. Today is Gordon Hayward. Tomorrow is Miles Bridges. Tomorrow is Lamelo Ball. Tomorrow is Mason Bumley. Then tomorrow is Gordon Hayward. Pick one. You see, the Charlotte Hornet problem is like girls who cheat on their husbands. They will go for a bag. They'll go to a pair of cactus, thinking it's rose, but then wanting to come back to the rose because they stepped on a cactus. Yeah, a cactus has thorns, but why would you go to the cactus? You know the cactus ain't gonna do shit for you. Though you left the rose petals, go to the cactus. You left rose petals for cactus, and then the cactus betrays you, and now you wanna come back. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares. I've never seen a team never appreciate their own franchise player. 70% of the Hornets fan base love LaMelo. 30% hates the guts out of this kid. I know people want to say, what? Oh, it's the truth. 70% appreciates him. How is your own fan base divided on the kid? There are people in the Hornets fan base that don't believe LaMelo is the guy. It's clear. It's written. The NBA promotes this kid as the superstar. He's the next unicorn guard. I was on who came up with the name unicorn guard. I even forgot it, and shout out to Blue Flame for actually remembering me that. Lamelo's the next unicorn guard. Unicorn guards are so trending that it all came with Luca, Lamelo, Josh Giddey, Kate Cunningham, and it's gonna go on. School Henry, they're coming the next guards that are gonna be hyped. Not the unicorn per se. I know people say unicorn is a player that can do it all, tall player. The unicorn guard, the Lucas of your era, the Lamelo Balls, the Kate Cunninghams, the Josh Giddies, these are your unicorn guard. Kate Cunningham is gonna be an all-star in probably year two because his organization believes in him. If your organization don't see you as a superstar, you're not making an all-star team. It's clear. Charlotte is still struggling to push their own all-star because they think LaMelo is this cocky kid that if he ever earns something successful, it'll cloud his mind and it'll hurt his team. So they cannot actually understand that this kid being a team player, a selfless person. You see, all the Ball brothers inherit something from the mom, which is selflessness. The ability to put your interest aside for the benefit of another person. But I guess Michael Jordan should learn how to think like that instead of thinking for himself. Michael Jordan's greed, his ego. is what ruined Lamelo's chances of being an All Star. Because an owner plays a key role in someone making an All Star. It's still the most delusional thing to tell someone you're a free agent magnet. You literally told us, remember, this was the day LaMelo got drafted. They released a video, Charlotte, by the way, that, and this is on live TV, that LaMelo's to come there and bring them free agents in a matter of years. And I know development take years, but a lot of delusional Charlotte fans are like, it's about they believe in family. Ain't nobody care about no weak ass family. This team traded Kobe because they thought Kobe ain't gonna do shit for them. But you choose Vladi Divac and you started to go downhill. What did Vladi Divac did for you? Just so you can trade him to the Sacramento Kings. No, we're not gonna talk about that. So I'm sorry to tell you, Charlotte, you ain't shit. Vladi Divac was entering the end of his career, and you decided that you don't want him. You don't want a savant. The LA Lakers got a savant. But also, Kobe went to the Lakers because Jerry West loved Kobe. Let's be honest. Jerry West wanted him so bad, he was like, I'm going to trade up to get him. He made sure of that. So when the Charlotte Hornets announced that Kobe was getting picked, everyone already knew that Kobe's going to the Lakers because the trade was made before draft day. So it was already known that he's going to the Lakers. Understand? Now, in terms of LaMelo not making an All-Star, it's the organization's fault. They never trusted this kid to be the leader, the franchise player, the go-to guy, because they thought Mr. Glass, aka Gordon Hayward, is that guy. The same guy that should be on minutes restriction, not getting any minutes. That's your guy? Like Charlotte, that's your king? I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. But at a time where a team should win, see, every player that made this all-star team, they made it because their organizations believed in them. Not because they deserved to make it. Brooklyn chose Harden because they believed in Harden. Not because Harden deserved to make it. DeRozan made it because Chicago Bulls believed in DeRozan. Do you know that the although the Bulls promote DeRozan, Levine, Lonzo, and Vucevic, they promote more DeRozan, Vucevic, and Zach Levine. Their big four gets promoted, but their big three are the most promoted. AKA the Ball Zach. Now is Ball Zach Vooch. Or remove Ball. The Zach Vooch. That's you see, Chicago Bulls has a much smarter marketing team than Charlotte. Charlotte marketing team are coons. You wanna know why I call them coons? Is because they're servants to the system. The Chicago media are independent thinkers. This is why I like Bulls fans more than Charlotte fans, because Bulls fans, although they have their delusional group, but they're more realistic and they believe in their players. Then I do love Hornets fans. Hornet fans have more delusional fan base than they have reasonable. The reasonable ones are there. I talk to those, but the delusional ones are filled there, and they don't even understand who their franchise player is because they're servants to the system. Whatever the organization says, they regurgitate it and use it as evidence. Oh, this player's doing this, that. I'll give an example. Globetrotting and no defense is the reason why he got benched. A random Charlotte fan said that. Or we don't want your negativity because you're talking bad about our team. Nobody cares about watching Charlotte. Lamelo went down. This is how Charlotte should know Lamelo's the franchise player. You lost 75% of your investment, of your revenue, when this kid went down with an injury. It's clear. Majority of people watching Charlotte are Lamelo fans. Majority of people watching the Bulls are also Lonzo fans. But the Bulls already had a larger fan base than Lonzo fans. That Lonzo fans are the minority. So if Lonzo fans leave, if Lonzo gets injured and nobody watches, let me tell you, Lonzo got injured. You still have Lonzo fans watching the Bulls. You still have Ball fans watching the Bulls. The Melo gets injured. You have nobody watching the Hornets. What does that tell you? They ain't shit. If Charlotte, let me be honest with you. You may hate me. You may go ahead. You ain't shit without Lamelo Ball. And the moment you realize that, the moment your franchise turns around, you lost 70%, 5% of your money because of this kid got injured. Sometimes it's protect your asset, sometimes it's promote your asset. And the moment to promote your asset, you failed. Your ego failed. That's why. That's why. You failed this kid. Charlotte fans, the delusional ones that love to cry about negativity, you failed. You failed to promote this kid. Because you think the delusional Charlotte fans love to regurgitate what the team says. Oh, he's not the franchise player. The Hornets are a team better than. See, let me tell you one thing. I may not play basketball, but I understand one thing about playing team sports. When you have a franchise player, let me give you an example. My high school team, right? I had this player on my team, right? Although me and him never got along at first, because he had this ego in his head. He was a hothead. I I always have this feeling of him trying to dribble too much and be so selfish. But in my final year of graduation from high school, I already fell in love with this player. He trained me. He put me in the best position to succeed because we got along, and he became the captain of the team because he was a team player. I later on realized I was the one that's wrong. And you want to know why? Because all those dribbling bullshit that he does, he uses it to create space for the boys so that they get an open shot. And I was the one that's in the wrong. Because I thought, because he was an oddhead, because he was egotistical, he couldn't make it. But when he became the captain, he became a more responsible person, a more reasonable leader, and a much more fair and coachable player. So it's clear the reason why LaMelo will never be an all-star is until the team believe in him. And let me tell you, Charlotte, I'm going to give you, again, the 3 reasons why LaMelo is your franchise player. And for the delusional fans, let me tell you again. Number one, remember you lost 75% of your money because this kid got injured. What does that tell you? You ain't shit without this kid. Number two, 75% of your fan base are LaMelo Ball fans. That's also to tell you. Number three, you never let me tell you, the Hornets had from the Boston Celtics game, the Lakers game, the Hornets had 3 to 7 extra national TV games because of that kid. Before LaMelo Ball, nobody's watching the Charlotte Hornets. The only player that's memorable, that's close to LaMelo Ball in that case is Miles Bridges. And you also failed him too. You also failed Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges was the second best stint before LaMelo Ball. It was Miles Bridges.